Okay guys, 7 o'clock in the morning, May 5th. I just walked out here into my shop. I can tell you, looking through the dirty window, you can see there's a lot of humidity in the air. Coming back down to my gauge, it's about 50 degrees in here, and look at the humidity. It's right at about 62%. So I think we can all appreciate that at least where I live, there's a wide variety of humidity ranges that I need to deal with. So here it is, another day. It's about 8 o'clock in the morning. As you can see, it's over 50 degrees at about 32% relative humidity. Now I have a purpose in doing this and kind of tracking this a little bit, because I want to show at the end of a 2-week period or so how much rust has accumulated on that piece of metal that I did the test burn with the gunpowder that I used peanut shells as the charcoal. So bear with it until the end, please. Well, at 6:30 in the afternoon, you saw what the temperature was this morning and the relative humidity. Now at 6:30, it's a little over 80, about 84. And look at that relative humidity. It's pretty damn dry, guys. Okay? Once again, and to reiterate and to beat a dead horse, I don't have to worry about my potassium nitrate being affected too much through hygroscopic moisture in the air. It's just not here. It's just not here, guys. Okay, it's 8 o'clock the following morning, and you can see what the gauges are telling me. It's about 54, 55 degrees in my shop, and relative humidity is just about 28. So obviously overnight, didn't have a whole lot of humidity creep into New Mexico, but I can tell you the next 3 or 4 days the humidity is going to get high. Well, hello there, friends. Thanks for clicking on this video. I want to thank all of you friends for leaving your comments and your thoughts. I'd like to welcome aboard the new subscribers, and I hope you'll take a minute to give this video a thumbs up and to share it with your bestest of buds. Just a quick introduction here. I got a lot of things I want to cover, but in all the years that I've been shooting black powder firearms, I've never gravitated towards either the Colt Walker or the Dragoons. Now I know that in the movie Outlaw Josie Wales you see a variety of these type of firearms, not so much the Walker, but the Colt Dragoons, the 1860 Army, and that type of thing. But one of the things that I've shied away from in particular with the Walkers, not so much because they're a big gun, but because of the problem with the loading lever. You shoot it and it drops down, and to me personally, that takes a lot of the fun out of shooting a cap and ball revolver. And I know I've seen a lot of videos what people do to resolve that issue, and most of it seems to be just tying a piece of leather around the loading lever and top of the barrel. But I've had a non-stop subscription to Muzzleloader magazine for about 35 years, and until Bill Scurlock sold it to another person, you never really saw cap and ball revolvers being featured in any of the articles. They just mainly stayed with the long guns and the old flintlock pistols, the traditional type weapons. But you guys that shoot Colt Walkers, you might find this interesting. In the this is the March-April issue 2024. Now this is a quarterly magazine. Yeah, I think it's quarterly. I got to stop and think about that. later. But there's an article in here entitled Watching a Walker by Mike Nesbitt. Now, Mike Nesbitt's been a long time writer for Muzzleloader magazine. Okay, and you can see the picture of the walker right there. But you flip the page over on page 11. There's a picture down here of a walker. And I'm hoping the camera will focus in good enough for you guys to see. But what this fellow has done, let me read first what the description is of this particular picture. Tom fitted his walker with a copper clip that does hold the loading lever up. Let me show you again real quick. Hopefully the camera can focus on it well enough so you can see what this feller did to overcome the issue of that loading lever dropping down upon firing. I hope you guys can hear the wind, because it's horrible out there, and it's been this bad for about 3 days, all night long too. But you know, for you guys that shoot walkers, that might be something you can consider. And obviously, when I look at something like this, I can see a lot of the finish on the gun barrel coming off. But hey, if it's a matter of the finish coming off in a certain spot, or being completely and utterly aggravated because that damn loading lever won't stay up in place, it's just another option. Okay, on to the next talking point. I've been showing the relative humidities with my gauge here over a course of time. And the reason why I've done that is because when I did that test burn with my gunpowder that I used peanut shells as the source of charcoal, I left that piece of metal here on my bench. And over the course of time, I've showed how much the humidity has changed just even in here. And I'm going to try to get the camera turned around just a little bit so you get a little bit better light. Or better yet, I have an experiment I'm going to try. I'll show you this at that time, and maybe you'll be able to see a little bit better what the surface of this looks like. Now it's been 13 days already. And, well, you'll see it in the better light. So without any further ado, I'm going to get out and I'm going to do an experiment with some gunpowder. And then you guys, as I test these two gunpowders, you tell me which one you think burns better. And then I'll come back here and I'll show you what I did, if indeed it burns better. Test number 1. Once again, here's the board. Pretty clean. Let me get set up for test number 2. Test number 2. So here's the board. It's a little bit more dirty. I don't know how well the camera can pick it up. But let me show you that piece of metal that I had burnt earlier and tried to show. You can see it a little bit better in the light what's happened in the amount of time I've left it in my shop. Okay, there's a close-up. Hopefully the camera can focus on it and you can see what's taking place. Now I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to rub it just a little bit so you can kind of see what's happening to the metal underneath that rust. So even in an area that's as arid as I am here, you can see why I kind of get a little anal about cleaning my guns. Well, I think it's pretty obvious which one burnt slower. I decided to do that experiment because, you know, obviously I read all your comments and I understand the very nature of nitrocellulose and what it can do, how it's in a lacquer and all that stuff. Duco cement, however you want to pronounce it, how that works also. So just a brief history before I tell you what I did specifically. I've been making arrows for a long time, and when I make my arrows, I like to fletch them, not just tie down the front of the feather, but I also like to wrap them in between. I don't know how well the camera's picking any of that up. Once again, I wish I could have the door open, but it's windy out there. And I know how sensitive this microphone is. Okay, but if you can see, they're wrapped from here all the way up to the nock. Okay. What I would do is use Duco cement, glue the feather in place, wrap it, and then take some Duco cement and then coat all of the wrappings with it as an added protection. And I know the nitrocellulose nature of that particular cement, okay? But you may or may not know this about nitrocellulose. So I'm going to play a short clip here from the channel Sweetwater, because nitrocellulose lacquer is actually used in a lot of your guitar, your finishes on your guitars in those instruments. So what I did is I went on YouTube and I typed in nitrocellulose lacquer and I came across this channel. So listen to what this fellow says.
Also known as nitrocellulose lacquer, and nitro for short, nitrocellulose is a compound that's used to finish many instruments such as guitars, basses, violins, mandolins, and many more. But nitrocellulose is used for far more than just instrument finishes. It's used to make everything from smokeless gunpowder to adhesives to clothing. It's used in plastics, in photography, and even in microbiological research. Nitrocellulose is a type of plastic. In fact, it was the first man-made plastic, patented in 1862 by Alexander Parks. In 1868, John Wesley Hyatt improved on Parks' work, and he developed a photographic film using nitrocellulose. Commercially, nitrocellulose is referred to as celluloid, and it was the basis for lacquers and plastics until the mid-1900s. A drawback to this material is that it's extremely flammable, and in fact, nitro fires are difficult to extinguish because they don't need oxygen to burn. If you put water on them, they'll actually burn more intensely. This, along with the toxic chemicals used, has been part of what has led to it being highly regulated by the government. Taken broadly, nitrocellulose has two parts. The first is cellulose, which is an organic, fibrous material found in the cell walls of plants. Cotton and wood pulp are common sources. The cellulose is broken down with concentrated nitric acid to create a resin.
Did you catch the point about wood pulp? Now go on YouTube and type in how is toilet paper made. Okay? So you guys, I hope you can appreciate that when you're making your gunpowders out of wood pulp, which is garbage wood. It's all garbage wood. Most of it's pine, but pine does have a specific gravity. I don't have my book in front of me to tell you what it is, but it's pretty light. It grows fast and it's pretty light. But when they work that wood down into the pulp that they use to make toilet paper, you're naturally going to get, on a cellular level, fast burning gunpowder, and probably cleaner burning gunpowder. There's a science behind all of that when you're going to use it as a charcoal for gunpowder. Okay? Now, having watched several videos on the channel Times Gone Tech with Terry trying to come up with a waterproof percussion cap, he used a Watco lacquer to put on top of his percussion caps as a sealer. Now there again, just let me go back a little bit. I understand the Duco cement, and for me it's been very difficult to find. I can't find it. I've been looking for it, and in fact about 10 years ago I found a source on eBay and I bought 10 packages of it, and it's all become hard because I have not been making that many arrows as of late. But I had one package still that was still kind of soft, kind of pliable, so I kind of cut that with a lot of acetone and it became very, very useful. So I've got some percussion caps that I'm drying right now. But it got me to thinking about, what if I took some of that slower burning gunpowder and spray it with nitrocellulose lacquer? We all know this stuff's highly flammable. Well, that second test was 40 grains of powder that I sprayed 2 days ago with this nitrocellulose lacquer, and you saw for yourselves how much more slower that burned. My thought behind that was, if I can speed up the burn rate using nitrocellulose lacquer, how would that work in a flash pan, say like in a flintlock? Not going to do that because the test tells me that's not a good way of doing it. Now what I did is I put 40 grains of that gunpowder I made with the peanut shells, and that's why I use both those gunpowders, or both, yeah, that gunpowder with the peanut shells. Did I say that right? Who knows? I think you guys can figure it out. You guys are smart enough. So I put 40 grains on a clean paper plate, made 2 passes real quick with the Watco lacquer, let it set for about 3-4 minutes, and then I took and I kind of like jostled the plate a little bit to try to get the stuff to maybe flip over so I could coat it on the other side. I don't know how well that worked or not, but then I real quickly give it another couple of quick passes, and then I let it dry for a couple of days. It's one of the reasons why I was keeping a close eye on the humidity in here also, because I let it dry here in the shop. But the test shows, at least for me, that's not a good way to increase your gunpowder, spraying it, say like with a nitrocellulose lacquer. Even though this is very flammable and toxic also on many, many levels. But when they make toilet paper from the pulp, you're literally getting down to the cellular level. Besides them cleaning it with chemicals, and besides them using a dye to, dye it white, you're still dealing with different chemicals in that process of making that product. And quite honestly, just thinking off the cuff here, why not just go buy a ream of writing paper and char that for charcoal, because they're both made from the same garbage wood. Turn it into a pulp, then they turn it into stationery. You're dealing with garbage wood. But hey, guys, make the gunpowder any way you want. I just made some out of peanut shells. So anyhow, guys, I hope that you can glean something from this. I know I certainly have. Will I coat any percussion caps with this nitrocellulose lacquer? Well, that's to be seen, because I think I got like 3 dozen coated already with the Duco cement that I was able to thin down, and I'm going to be testing those, I want to say soon, but according to the weather, this wind is supposed to stop tomorrow, and then we've got 3 or 4 days of rain coming in. So it's kind of iffy right now, but this is typical spring and fall New Mexico. So thanks for watching. I enjoyed. I'm going to enjoy. Let's see. How does that? I'm looking forward. There we go. I'm looking forward to reading your comments to see which one of these gunpowders that I tested burnt slower or faster with spraying them with nitrocellulose lacquer. Thanks for watching and have a great day, guys. Bye.